Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Emily Legleitner. I'm a Stamps alum. I graduated in 2019 and have since been working out of my home studio in Flint, Michigan as a printmaker. I'm going to have a series of demonstrations for you to learn how to make Japanese paper, otherwise called washi. This first video, I'm going to walk you through the preparation steps. So that will include cooking, cleaning, and beating the kozo fibers. We'll also learn to mix tororawi, which acts as a binding agent. And I'll also teach you how to dye fibers to make colored papers. So let's get started. First, we'll weigh out our dry kozo fibers. For this demonstration, I've weighed out 350 grams of Mitsumata fibers. Newly purchased fibers, which are mostly stripped of their bark, are soaked in room temperature water for 3 days. To cook the fibers, bring a large pot of water to a near boil. Measure 15% of the weight of your dry fibers in soda ash, stirring it into your boiling water to dissolve. Add the fibers to the pot and stir gently. Cover and let boil for 2 to 3 hours. Check on the fibers every 20 to 30 minutes, stirring gently to turn them from the bottom to the top. Your fibers are ready when they appear soft and pull apart easily. Check this using tweezers or tongs, but be careful, it's hot. The danger of overcooking the fibers is that they may break down too much and create a weaker paper. After the soda ash boil, wash your fibers in cool water until it runs clear. Soak your cooked fibers in cold water for 3 days, changing the water once per day. During this process, take the time to check your fibers for small bits of bark. Remove the pieces of bark with your fingers or tweezers. Well-cooked fibers should be stripped of their bark very easily. Now you are ready to beat your fibers and store them. Beating is a process that separates and softens the fibers, ensuring fine and uniform paper. Pound the fibers with an oak mallet on a board. As the fibers flatten, fold them inward, rotate the bundle, and repeat. You will beat the fibers again before making your paper, so this process need not be overdone. "350 grams of dried Mitsumata fibers yielded approximately 960 grams of wet fibers. Keep your beaten fibers moist until you're ready to make your paper. Fibers can be stored balled up in Tupperware containers. If left at room temperature, the fibers will have to be re-washed to prevent mildew. Fibers can be refrigerated to prolong their life and prevent mildew. You can also freeze your fibers for long-term storage. To mix tororawi or formation aid, which acts as a binding agent for our paper, measure 30 grams of powder and dissolve it in a small amount of water. Incrementally add cold water and tororawi to a small 1-gallon bucket and stir to dissolve. You will notice much of the tororawi will clump up right away. This is fine. Keep mixing and adding water until you fill approximately a quarter of the bucket. Your mixture will look something like goopy ice water. An hour or two later, add more water to the bucket and continue mixing. You will notice that your tororawi has become more gelatinous and much more has dissolved. Keep a towel nearby, the stuff is sticky. At the end of the first day, add enough water to fill half the bucket and keep mixing. The following day, add water until the bucket is nearly full and mix the two as often as you can. By the third day, your tororawi should be ready for use. It will be very viscous and mostly dissolved, besides a few jelly-like clumps, which we will remove by sifting through a cotton bag. Let this mixture drain through a cotton bag into a large 5-gallon bucket, adding more water to this before using it to form your paper. Now we will dye some of our cooked fibers to make colored paper. There are a few ways to dye paper, using chemical cold dyes or natural dyes. At my home studio, I use acid dyes, which is what we will cover in this video today. Note that colors will vary greatly between different kinds of fibers. Each plant takes the dyes differently, and some results will be more saturated than others. For this demonstration, I will measure out a pound of cooked fibers, which I have separated, and boil them in 2 gallons of water. When my water is nearing a boil, I will add my dye to the pot, dissolving a few tablespoons of the dye powder in a small cup of water before incorporating. More dye will create more intense colors. Fibers will also become more saturated with dye the longer they cook, or the longer they soak if you're using cold chemical dyes. A fixative like vinegar or salt will be used to open up the fibers so that they can accept the dye. Note, however, that the fixatives used for dyeing will break the fibers down more and weaken them. When the water has reached a boil, I will add my fibers to the pot and a 1/4 cup of vinegar. I will stir this constantly until the desired color is achieved, typically no more than 30 minutes. Remember, cooking the fibers for dyeing will break them down further and weaken our paper. I will rinse these fibers thoroughly in cold water until the water runs clear. These fibers can then be balled up and stored. Make note that different colored paper can be made not only by dyeing your fibers the desired color from the get-go, but also by combining different colored fibers in the paper forming process. For example, blue fibers and yellow fibers when combined in the vat will make green paper. but with greater variety in color from the individual fibers that can be seen. This is a favorable approach, for the paper color will appear more nuanced. Now that the fibers are prepared and we have mixed tororawi, we are ready to form our washi. Please join me for part 2 of this video series to see how that's done, and thanks for watching.